All right, this is Florida Man Does Weather here with a quick update on our current situation. In the northern Atlantic, we have Dexter struggling to survive. It is caught within a pretty sizable jet streak. You can see that large mass of clouds really streaming off to the northeast. We'll get a quick zoom in view of Dexter. Not looking the healthiest for a tropical system. That is your surface circulation. Usually, you want to see that. Well, you don't really want to see it actually. You want it to be buried underneath very strong convection. That is the pretty much preeminent sign of a strengthening and healthy tropical system. And I know the pressures have decreased and the winds have increased slightly from what they were yesterday, but much of that is due to the fact that it's within this larger jet streak and it is going to get pulled into that even further. So it is currently strengthening right now based off of really jet streak dynamics and not tropical strengthening, not true tropical strengthening. So that's one reason why that has maintained and intensified slightly despite being in such a hostile environment. Otherwise, we have this other area of development indicated by the National Hurricane Center. I know chances for that development have dropped pretty strongly to, I believe, 30%. It was at 50% over the next 7 days, but it's not looking like the most favorable environment. You got another little mid-level low pressure circulation down here, kind of going to become part of a broad inverted trough that takes shape somewhat in the eastern Gulf and is really going to act to bring a ton more rain enhancement this weekend over the state of Florida. Really starting tomorrow, we're going to feel that effect. Today was pretty much the last day of southwesterly and southerly flow. It is going to try to flip more out of the east. So I believe tomorrow is going to be pretty good easterly low level flow, and that's going to pin a lot of your storm activity to the west coast. And with the influence of an inverted trough, it's just going to add a little bit of spice to your storms. And then out here we have the next system to watch. It is a pretty strong and vigorous tropical wave embedded within the larger flow of the intertropical convergence zone. And then we've got another wave that is set to come off of Africa in a couple days that we will really start to touch on as that makes its way out into the ocean. But for now, let us talk about what is to come in the next couple days. So this little guy up here, this little divot is Dexter. That is going to get really just embedded into another larger scale trough and shift off. And really not expecting too much to come out of this. But what that Dexter larger trough does is it opens up this little void. So these are your steering highs in the Atlantic. This is helping to push things west towards us, and then you have another smaller high over here. So that trough creates this little void in between, and that's where your next wave is going to start to just get pulled into, and that is why it is most likely just going to stay a fish storm if it develops at all. So this little cluster of numbers down here, these are your ensemble model members. Each one of these red numbers represents a plotted low. This is just where the model thinks a low center could be. Same thing with your blue numbers. That's where the model basically thinks a high pressure center is going to be. So we can watch, you got your Dexter cluster up there, and then, nothing really happens off of the Carolina coast. Just not the best environment for a tropical system to be forming, a little bit sheared, a little bit too dry in certain levels. And then we take this more forward. You see that initial cluster that has a 60% chance of development over the next 7 days just kind of meanders off to the north and then eventually the northeast. And then we get a little bit more chaotic. So that's what we're talking about with this next wave that's going to be coming off of Africa in a couple days. That is going to be something to watch because we need to really monitor where the steering highs in the Atlantic set up, because if they set up more towards the middle, that could mean something takes this kind of path and goes more towards the U.S. in the southeast, maybe even the Gulf and into Louisiana, Texas. It's just it bears watching, but right now it's just so far out there that there's not too much agreement. But once we start to see a relatively tight cluster like this, that at least shows there is a good signal for something to be coming. So don't pay attention to individual lows at this point. Just pay attention to your clusters. You're looking for averages at this stage. And as you can see with high pressure placement, there really isn't much of a cohesive average. So it's just something that's got to be fleshed out. And then I just kind of want to show the individual model depiction of this. So this is the 12Z GFS. You got Dexter in the North Atlantic, just gets pulled off. And then this is what the 12Z run today thought would happen with this little system we got out there right now. It should be designated as an invest here in the next couple days. Same thing with your, this is Invest96L up here. Nothing much going to happen with that. It might briefly organize into a tropical depression. There are some chances for that. Same thing with this guy down here. But as you can see, nothing really comes of those. And then all eyes on this guy. So the fact that we have such good agreement this far out is a good sign for confidence. So just make sure, keep an eye on things. We'll keep an eye on things. Don't get too worried about it yet. If anything, this would be an August 15th through the 21st problem if there would be U.S. impacts. So still plenty of time to flesh things out. Thank you guys for watching. This has been Floridaman Does Weather.